Austin, I'm sorry to interrupt.
Twins, Basil. Twins.
Austin, it's your father.
What is up, Netflix fans? Welcome back to my channel. Brand new series on the platform. It's called Echoes. And man, this is one that I'm interested to talk about. I need you in the comments down below. Did you finish this series? How did you feel about it? Is it worth a binge? Echoes is a mystery thriller about two identical twins, Leni and Gina, who share a dangerous secret. Since they were children, Leni and Gina have secretly swapped lives, culminating in a double life as adults. They share two homes, two husbands, and a child, but everything in their perfectly choreographed world is thrown into disarray when one of the sisters goes missing. The main characters played by Michelle Monaghan. And of course, we're going to start with the rating here. It's TV mature for language, sex, and gore, so not necessarily a show for families, but it is one for those who want to get together and follow along this crazy, twisted mystery involving a great performance by Michelle Monaghan, regardless of how you feel about this plot and how windy and mad it gets as we progress, right? And there's so much to this story that had me scratching my head, but there was also a lot to this story that was intriguing. And I think the best aspect, well, we'll say aspects of this show, is the fact that they could build tension throughout each and every episode. And there was always something that would hook you, whether you were sitting there giggling and like, this is getting overly ridiculous or not. It has that soap opera feel of something that's going to get you invested no matter what, because it's just so intriguing. And the performance from Monaghan in both cases with both characters is really good. I thought she did a phenomenal job. There are a couple of characters, right? Matt Bomer is in this show, and he's always good, regardless of what type of role he's playing. There's a character by the name of Sheriff Floss, and one of the smaller storylines, there are numerous in this show, but one featuring this local cop, and she's continuing to get suspicious, and then there are subplots that arise that aren't having to do with the main mystery that our two sisters are getting involved in. So that started to intrigue me the further we went, and there's a lot about this show that will have a lot of people invested. Now, whether or not you want to admit how convoluted, and a lot of people are going to use the word twisted. It is twisted for sure. But when it comes to trying to tell what exactly is going down with these two sisters, and mostly which sister is at the forefront of each particular scene, I don't even want to say subplot, each scene. Michelle Monaghan, she's on screen, and her hair may be down one way, but she may be acting like the other sister in that moment. And I'm sitting here going, oh, I thought that was the, is that not the one that, no? Okay. Should I rewind it?
Mr. Krabs, I am so confused.
Look, these sisters, they're so identical. No one is able to tell them apart in the series, barring, I think, one person, right? But it works to their advantage. They have this entire thing set up to where they're continuing to go back and forth, and life is good because they're able to live, each of them, two different lives. That's a cool concept. But then something happens to where one of the two sisters has to take over and live both lives. We ask the question, what happens if somebody wants to see both in the same room at the same time? Well, it's going to be a problem. And these are the problems that come about from a show like this. And that, to me, as ridiculous as it gets, that's pretty entertaining, right? Regardless of what I want to say about this show, it was very entertaining at times, and I couldn't help but to want to go to the next episode, maybe to see how silly it was going to be, but also because I was somewhat invested in the story. It's not only what's happening in the present, there's also a story happening in the past, because while the main mysteries are with Michelle Monaghan's version of these characters, you have the younger versions, teenage versions, played by two different actresses who are just as good, if not better, when it comes to the way that they handled their characters. But a mystery arises there, and that's something that begins to come back into play in the future. So you have the main mystery, couple of subplot mysteries, everything happening with the sheriff thinking that they're involved in something else, and then the past. So again, we're talking a web of subplots and stories and madness.
I'm so confused.
But a couple of issues that I kept experiencing as we went, right? I mentioned the inability to tell the two sisters apart at points. And you may be thinking, well, Austin, you don't want the show to spell everything out for you and make it super obvious. I understand that. But genuinely, there were so many moments where I thought we were dealing with one sister and we were dealing with the other sister. And that happens so often, right? I'm fine if it happens once or twice. It happens so often. I'm sitting there going, this is starting to get annoying. And I don't know if that was the intention. I know it wasn't the intentions, but it felt as if they could have handled that aspect so much better. And then you have the dragged out and repetitive flashback sequences. And again, I like the story happening in the past, but they are included in moments that break up the tension of everything happening in the present, right? You have something that's keeping you on your toes, and then all of a sudden, boom, we get a flashback for 5 minutes. And I'm like, you could have made that one episode in its entirety, and I think that would have served the story so much better. And then we get to the ending, right? We're building up, we're taking chances and risks. I'll give that to the show, but the end happens, and I'm like, oh, well, that's really predictable and safe. And I didn't want a safe ending with a show like this, a show dealing with two identical twins that take each other's lives. I did not want the safest ending possible, and it just felt as if they were done taking risks by the final episode, even though that's the episode when they should have taken the most risks. And I'm like, well, that's truly disappointing. I'll give the series this. There's some really nice cinematography in there. The filmmaking, for the most part, works. It does have that made-for-TV feeling at moments. I don't know if that was just the tone of the show making me feel that way or the visuals, but for the most part, I think it worked in that regard. And it's also a series that it knows its audience, right? If you love shows like this that have that type of tension and will keep you on your toes, but you kind of know where it's going, then I feel like you're going to enjoy it, and that is absolutely fine at the end of the day.
At the end of the day, it's not that funny, is it?
Before I give you guys my score, are you watching this show on Netflix this weekend? What's the best Netflix series of the year, and do you have a twin? If you want to drop a like, that'd be cool. Echoes features an intriguing mystery at its center, but this series is bogged down by a predictable plot and confusing scenes with this set of twins. Thankfully, it does manage to entertain in moments, but I'm going a 55% with my score. Could not quite get it to 60 just because of those elements of the plot, but I need your all's thoughts. It's all about the discussion. Be sure to leave that below. I'll be back with more reviews very soon, and I'll see you later.